Have you ever wondered why some individuals effortlessly command attention while others struggle to be noticed? Why certain relationships flourish with mutual respect while others dissolve into disappointment? Here's a truth rarely acknowledged. Attraction isn't merely about appearance or clever rhetoric. It's about how you carry yourself in silence, with quiet confidence and undeniable dignity. In a world overflowing with noise, superficial connections, and fleeting validation, standing out isn't about pursuing attention. It's about embodying value. Yet many unknowingly repeat the same patterns. Oversharing, overgiving, or worse, pursuing. Sound familiar? The encouraging news is that you needn't rely on these ineffective approaches. What if there was a way to transform the dynamic? A method to make others see you, respect you, and treasure you. Not because you demand it, but because they cannot help themselves? The secret lies in mastering 10 powerful silent practices rooted in timeless wisdom and deeply connected to the transformative philosophy of Stoicism. Each principle will empower you to embody value so naturally that it becomes impossible for anyone to overlook you. Are you prepared to discover how to unlock your inner magnetism and cultivate genuine, lasting value in your relationships? Let's begin with one of the most crucial lessons: the art of never pursuing, always attracting. Trust me, once you master this, your entire perspective will permanently shift. 1. Never pursue, always attract. Let's begin with a question. Why do we pursue? Is it because we truly believe someone is irreplaceable, or is it rooted in fear? Fear of losing them, of solitude, of inadequacy? Be honest with yourself. We've all experienced it. You meet someone who seems ideal, and when they begin to withdraw, panic sets in. You message too frequently, compensate with excessive attention, or attempt to repair what feels broken. Yet here's the paradox. The more intensely you pursue, the faster they retreat. Now imagine reversing this dynamic. Instead of pursuing, you attract by embodying calm, unshakable confidence that radiates, "I am worth pursuing." This is where Stoicism enters, a philosophy teaching us to focus on what we can control and release what we cannot. You cannot control another's feelings or actions, but you can control your response. Consider this as reclaiming your power. Picture this scenario. You're seeing someone and everything appears wonderful until suddenly their responses become delayed, their effort diminishes, and the dynamic shifts. Most would instinctively try harder, send another message, initiate another meeting, perhaps even confront them. But what if you did the opposite? What if you stepped back instead of leaning in? This isn't about playing games. It's about communicating through your actions that your time and energy are valuable. If someone chooses not to invest in the connection, that's their decision, but you won't pursue them. Here's why this works. Humans naturally value what feels scarce. It's a psychological phenomenon. When something is too readily available, we subconsciously devalue it. When you stop pursuing, you create space for the other person to wonder about you, to miss you, and to reevaluate their behavior. This taps into principles of Stoic psychology, using restraint, patience, and composure to quietly yet powerfully shift the dynamic in your favor. Now, addressing the obvious question, won't stepping back cause them to lose interest completely? Not if their interest is genuine. If their feelings are authentic, they'll notice the shift and be drawn to your self-respect and emotional maturity. If they don't, then ask yourself, why would you want to be with someone who doesn't recognize your value? Stoicism reminds us that sometimes releasing what doesn't serve us creates space for something, or someone, better. You might wonder, this sounds promising, but how do I actually stop pursuing? Begin by redirecting focus to yourself. Reinvest in your interests, passions, and friendships. When the urge to reach out arises, pause and ask, what am I hoping to achieve? Is this action aligned with my self-respect? This isn't about ignoring others or being cold. It's about channeling your energy into becoming someone so magnetic and fulfilled that pursuing anyone feels unnecessary. Remember, attraction isn't about clinging to another. It's about becoming someone worth being drawn to. When you embrace this mindset, you won't just make others value you. You'll start valuing yourself in a liberating, empowering way. So consider, how would it feel to stop pursuing entirely? To trust that what's meant for you will arrive naturally, without force? Imagine the peace, confidence, and clarity this shift could bring. 2. Know your worth like a rare gem. Let me ask, do you truly know your value? I mean, really know it? Or are you allowing the world, or worse, someone else, to define it for you? The truth is, many fall into the trap of measuring worth through external validation. Social media approval, attention from a partner, or society's ever-changing standards of beauty and success. But here's the reality. Your worth isn't negotiable. It's not something anyone can grant or remove. It simply is. Imagine yourself as a rare gemstone. Not everyone will recognize your brilliance. Some might even pass by without a second glance. Does that diminish the gem's value? Absolutely not. Its value remains unwavering and undeniable, regardless of whether others perceive it. You are that rare gem. The question is, do you see it for yourself? Knowing your worth is one of the most magnetic traits you can possess. It's not about arrogance or boasting. It's about moving through life with quiet confidence and unshakable self-respect. When you truly value yourself, everything changes. How you interact with others, how you establish boundaries, and how others perceive and treat you. They begin to sense that you're not just anyone. You're someone who knows they deserve respect, care, and effort. But how do you reach this place of deep self-worth? It begins with self-reflection, a practice deeply rooted in Stoicism. Take a moment to consider what truly makes you unique. Not surface qualities, but deeper traits. Are you compassionate, insightful, determined? Do you possess unwavering loyalty, creative brilliance, or the ability to remain composed under pressure? These are the building blocks of your value. When you focus on these qualities rather than external validation, you begin to see yourself through a lens of strength and individuality. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you feel undervalued, instead of spiraling into doubt, pause and ask, what virtues and values do I bring to this situation? Perhaps you've demonstrated patience during a difficult moment, or maybe your kindness has positively impacted someone. Document these reflections, not to boast, but to anchor yourself in who you are, independent of others' opinions. When you operate from a foundation of self-worth, something remarkable happens. You stop tolerating poor treatment, not from pride, but because you respect yourself too much to accept anything less. And here's the key insight. Others will detect this energy. They'll recognize that you're not someone who needs to plead for attention or approval. You're someone who chooses relationships that align with your values, not your insecurities. Consider this: if you don't value yourself, how can you expect anyone else to? The way you perceive yourself establishes the standard for how others perceive you. This isn't merely theory. It's a law of human dynamics directly connected to Stoic psychology. When you carry yourself with self-respect, you naturally elevate the standards of those around you. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor: you have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your worth resides entirely within your control. Not external circumstances or other people, but you, your actions, and how you choose to present yourself to the world. So I ask again, what makes you unique? What qualities distinguish you? Reflect on these questions, because when you truly recognize your value, you'll notice something powerful. Your interactions will transform. You'll stop pursuing, overthinking, or worrying about others' perceptions. Instead, you'll radiate quiet, irresistible confidence that inspires others to meet your standards. 3. Watch actions, not words. Have you ever been captivated by someone's words only to discover later that their actions told an entirely different story? It's an age-old narrative, isn't it? Someone says all the right things, makes promises that sound perfect, and paints a vision of a future that seems almost too good to be true. And often it is. Words, however beautiful, mean nothing without corresponding actions. Here's where Stoic wisdom becomes relevant. Pay attention to what people do, not merely what they say. Actions reveal character, intent, and priorities far more accurately than words ever could. This isn't about cynicism or distrust, it's about wisdom. By observing someone's actions, you protect your emotional well-being and align yourself with people who truly value you. Consider how many times you've been disappointed by someone who promised the world but couldn't deliver even the simplest gestures of care. Perhaps they said they'd call but didn't, or made plans only to cancel at the last moment. The truth is, consistency in action demonstrates commitment, while inconsistency reveals its absence. This isn't about expecting perfection, no one is flawless, but about recognizing patterns. Let's explore this concept more deeply with a scenario. Imagine you're dating someone who frequently expresses how much they care about you. They say things like, "You're incredibly important to me," or "I'll always be here for you." It feels reassuring, doesn't it? But what happens when you actually need their support? Do they appear, or do they offer excuses? Do their actions match their words, or do they fall short? This is where Stoic psychology becomes a powerful tool. Instead of reacting emotionally to every word, learn to step back and observe. Focus on reality, on behavior rather than promises. This doesn't mean confronting every inconsistency or dramatizing every minor lapse. It means quietly taking note and allowing actions to guide your decisions. When you adopt this mindset, something remarkable occurs. You begin to see people for who they truly are, not who they claim to be. This clarity can be both liberating and empowering because it eliminates guesswork. You're no longer caught in a whirlwind of words. You're grounded in reality. There's another dimension to this principle. Your own actions carry weight too. Just as you evaluate others by their deeds, they're also observing you. Are you consistent? Do your actions align with your values? Are you presenting yourself as the person you aspire to be? When your actions reflect self-respect, kindness, and integrity, you establish a standard not just for yourself, but for those you welcome into your life. Here's a simple yet powerful exercise. The next time you're uncertain about someone's intentions, resist the urge to seek clarification. Instead, observe their behavior over time. Do they honor their commitments? Do they treat you with care and respect, even when inconvenient? Let their actions speak louder than their words ever could. This practice isn't just about holding others accountable, it's about protecting your heart. When you prioritize actions over words, you reduce the risk of being swept up in empty promises. You create space for relationships built on trust, reliability, and mutual respect. It's worth noting that this approach requires patience. People reveal their true nature over time, but only if given the opportunity. Don't rush to conclusions or force developments. Trust that the truth will emerge, and allow yourself to respond with grace and wisdom when it does. At its essence, this principle concerns alignment, ensuring that others' actions match their claims and that this alignment feels right for you. When you live by this standard, you naturally attract people who value integrity as you do. So ask yourself, are you attentive to actions, or are you getting lost in words? This isn't a question for self-judgment, but an opportunity to shift perspective. When you focus on what's real, you enter a position of strength. You stop hoping someone will change and start recognizing who they are now. From that clarity, you can make decisions that honor your worth and protect your peace. By watching actions instead of words, you take control of your emotional experience. You stop surrendering your power to empty promises and start investing in relationships that are as authentic as they feel. This is where true respect and connection begin, and believe me, it's worth the wait. 4. Master nonverbal communication. What if I told you that some of the most powerful statements you'll ever make don't involve words at all? Consider this. Have you ever entered a room and felt instantly drawn to someone, not because of what they said, but because of how they carried themselves? That's the power of nonverbal communication, an unspoken language that can captivate attention and leave a lasting impression. Now consider, what messages are you sending without realizing it? Your posture, eye contact, gestures, even the pauses in your conversations, all silently communicate how you feel about yourself and the world around you. Mastering this art isn't about being rigid or overly calculated. It's about aligning your presence with your confidence and worth. Start with how you carry yourself. Imagine two individuals entering a room. One hurries in with slumped posture, their gaze darting nervously around the space. The other walks with shoulders back, head high, and a calm, composed demeanor. Which one captures your attention? Which exudes quiet confidence? The second, naturally. Why? Because they've mastered the silent art of self-assurance. Your body language reflects how you view yourself. If you carry yourself like someone who values their time, energy, and presence, others will naturally begin to value you too. This is where Stoicism connects with nonverbal communication. It teaches us to cultivate inner calm and composure that radiate outward in every interaction. One of the simplest ways to enhance your nonverbal presence is through eye contact. Strong, steady eye contact conveys interest, confidence, and self-assurance. It says, "I see you, and I'm not afraid to be seen." But here's the key. It's not about staring someone down. It's about creating connection while remaining grounded in your own energy. Practice this in everyday situations, whether conversing with a stranger or sharing a moment with someone you care about. Another underrated yet powerful tool is the pause. In a world of constant chatter, the ability to pause before responding or to sit comfortably in silence is magnetic. Why? Because it demonstrates control. You're not rushing to fill space or seeking validation through words. You're comfortable with yourself, and that confidence is irresistible. Your appearance also influences nonverbal communication, but not as you might expect. This isn't about being flashy or dressing to impress others. It's about presenting yourself in a way that reflects your self-respect. Wear clothes that make you feel strong, beautiful, and authentic. Groom yourself in a way that aligns with how you want to be perceived, not for anyone else, but for yourself. This sends a powerful message: I care about myself and am worth the effort. Here's another secret about nonverbal communication. It's not just what you project, but what you withhold. In relationships, there's often a rush to share everything: your time, space, deepest thoughts. But Stoicism teaches the value of restraint. When you don't immediately reveal everything, you create intrigue. Mystery isn't about being aloof or playing games. It's about showing there's more to you than immediately apparent. It invites others to earn your trust and access to your inner world. Consider how often we unconsciously give away our energy. Perhaps you've caught yourself over-explaining, apologizing excessively, or overcompensating in conversations. These habits stem from insecurity but can be replaced with something far more powerful: stillness. When you speak less but say more, when you hold your ground without overreacting, you create an aura of self-possession that's impossible to ignore. The beauty of nonverbal communication lies in its subtlety. It's not about grand gestures or dramatic displays. It's in the slight tilt of your head as you listen attentively, the way you nod slowly to signal full presence, the relaxed way you sit showing you're at ease with yourself and surroundings. This silent power can transform your interactions. Instead of seeking validation through words, let your presence speak for you. Instead of trying to prove your worth, embody it. Most importantly, it's not about manipulating others. It's about aligning with your own confidence and authenticity. So ask yourself, what is my body language currently communicating? Is it conveying self-respect or betraying self-doubt? Is it inviting connection or erecting walls? These questions aren't meant to make you overthink every movement. They're an invitation to become more intentional about how you present yourself. When you master nonverbal communication, you enter a space of quiet, undeniable magnetism. It's not about striving to be noticed. It's about becoming someone who naturally draws attention simply by being. And when others encounter this presence, they won't just value you, they'll be inspired to meet your energy. 5. Set boundaries without words. When someone crosses a line, do you feel compelled to explain yourself, justify your feelings, or argue your case? Most of us have experienced this, overthinking, overtalking, over-explaining in an attempt to make others respect our boundaries. But here's the truth. Boundaries aren't about what you say, they're about what you do. Actions, not words, are the true enforcers of respect. Think of boundaries as invisible lines protecting your time, energy, and emotions. They don't require grand speeches or dramatic ultimatums. In fact, the strongest boundaries are often the quietest. Why? Because they're reflected in how you carry yourself, the choices you make, and what you permit or don't permit in your life. Here's a powerful mindset shift. You needn't announce your boundaries to make them real, you simply live them. For instance, if someone consistently cancels plans at the last minute, you don't need to lecture them about respecting your time. Instead, quietly stop making plans with them. If someone disrespects you through words or actions, you don't need to demand an apology. Simply step back and reduce their access to you. Over time, people learn exactly where your lines exist, not because you've told them, but because you've shown them. This silent strength is rooted in Stoicism. The Stoics believed in controlling their own actions and emotions rather than attempting to control others. You can't force someone to respect your boundaries, but you can hold yourself to the standard you expect from others. When someone sees that you won't bend, beg, or tolerate disrespect, they have two choices: rise to meet your standards or fade away. Either outcome protects your peace. Consider a real-world example. Imagine you're dating someone who makes dismissive comments about your feelings. You don't need an extensive emotional conversation about how it bothers you. Instead, the next time it occurs, respond with calm detachment. Don't laugh, engage, or explain. If they're attentive, they'll notice your shift in energy. If not, quietly begin withdrawing. Your silence speaks volumes. I won't accept being treated this way. It's important to note that setting boundaries without words doesn't mean ignoring problems or suppressing emotions. It's about letting your actions communicate. When you calmly distance yourself from disrespect or choose not to engage in drama, you send a clear message: I value myself too much to remain in situations that don't align with my worth. This is where Stoic psychology becomes transformative. It's not about manipulation. It's about embodying quiet confidence that naturally commands respect. And here's the most beautiful aspect. Boundaries are a form of self-love. When you enforce them, you're not just teaching others how to treat you. You're showing yourself that you deserve respect and care. This internal validation far outweighs any external approval you could seek. Now let's address a common fear. What if setting boundaries pushes people away? Here's the difficult truth. If someone leaves because you've enforced a boundary, they were never truly invested in your well-being. While it might sting momentarily, losing someone who doesn't respect you is never a genuine loss. It's an opportunity to create space for people who will. Consider this. Those who genuinely care about you will appreciate your boundaries because they'll understand they're rooted in self-respect. They'll view your boundaries not as walls but as guidelines for building a stronger, healthier connection. And those who don't, they'll reveal themselves quickly, saving you time and heartache. Here's a challenge. The next time someone crosses a line, resist the urge to explain or defend yourself. Instead, pause and consider how you might respond with quiet, deliberate action. Perhaps it's choosing not to answer a disrespectful message, or declining a request that doesn't align with your priorities. These small, intentional choices accumulate, creating a ripple effect that transforms how others perceive and treat you. Remember, boundaries aren't about keeping people out. They're about protecting what's within. When you establish and enforce boundaries without needing to announce them, you create an environment where only the right people can thrive. That's how you build relationships based on mutual respect and authenticity. 6. Embrace change with grace. Change, a word that often evokes discomfort and fear, especially regarding relationships. Perhaps you've experienced it. Subtle shifts, evolving dynamics, moments when everything feels uncertain. It's tempting to resist, to cling to the familiar, to fight for things to remain as they were. But what if change isn't your adversary, but your greatest ally? Let's begin with a truth rooted in Stoicism. The only constant in life is change. This philosophy teaches us to stop fighting the inevitable and instead embrace it with openness and resilience. Whether it's a relationship ending, priorities shifting, or love deepening into something more profound, change is natural in every connection. How you handle it reveals everything about your strength and self-worth. Imagine a relationship where things have begun to shift. Perhaps the other person is becoming distant, or circumstances are pulling you in different directions. Your instinct might be to panic, to control the situation, to demand answers. But consider this. The more you resist change, the more friction you create, and that friction often pushes people further away. Now picture an alternative. Instead of resisting, you accept. You breathe deeply and remind yourself that this moment, however uncertain, is part of your journey. Acceptance doesn't mean surrender. It means releasing the need to control and trusting yourself to manage whatever follows. This mindset shift can transform your approach to relationships. When you embrace change gracefully, you signal strength, not just to others, but to yourself. You demonstrate adaptability, resilience, and fearlessness toward growth. This energy is magnetic, drawing people toward you not because you're trying to hold on to them, but because you've created an environment where love can evolve freely. Here's a truth about relationships. They aren't static. They're living, breathing entities that grow and change. Sometimes they deepen, sometimes they fade, sometimes they transform into something entirely new. The Stoic principle of detachment teaches us to appreciate what we have in the moment without clinging out of fear. This doesn't mean caring less. It means allowing things to unfold naturally, even if the outcome differs from expectations. Consider this. What if every relationship change was an opportunity for growth? Perhaps a breakup teaches you to value yourself more. Maybe a dynamic shift challenges you to communicate better. Perhaps letting go creates space for something even more fulfilling. Change, approached with the right mindset, is never an end. It's the beginning of something new. But embracing change isn't easy. It requires courage, patience, and deep self-trust. It means facing uncertainty openly rather than with resistance. Most importantly, it means staying rooted in your values even when everything feels unstable. Here's a practical approach to navigating change gracefully. Focus on what you can control: your actions, mindset, and energy. If a relationship is shifting, ask yourself, how can I respond in a way that reflects my worth? Perhaps through an honest conversation, or by stepping back to allow space. Whatever the situation, make choices aligned with your values, not your fears. There's profound beauty in trusting the process. When you stop clinging to what was and start embracing what is, you create room for life to surprise you. Sometimes what you feared losing wasn't meant for you, and releasing it opens doors to something better. Think of it this way: when trees lose leaves in autumn, they aren't dying, they're preparing for new growth. Similarly, every season of change offers an opportunity to shed what no longer serves you and step into a new version of yourself. This perspective isn't just empowering, it's liberating. What if you stopped fearing change and started viewing it as a gift? What if you trusted that regardless of outcomes, you have the strength to adapt, grow, and thrive? Imagine how much lighter your heart would feel releasing the need to control and simply allowing life to unfold. When you embrace change gracefully, you become unshakable. You show the world, and yourself, that you're not defined by any single relationship's outcome, but by how you respond even amid uncertainty. That kind of strength is unforgettable. There's tremendous power in this realization. You aren't a victim of change, you're a participant. When you meet change with courage and openness, you don't merely survive, you flourish. And that's where true value resides. 7. The power of saying no. Consider the last time you said yes when you truly wanted to say no. Was it from fear of disappointing someone? Perhaps you worried they'd think less of you or, worse, withdraw entirely. It's a familiar pattern, isn't it? We're conditioned to be accommodating, agreeable, and flexible, especially in relationships. But here's the truth. Every time you agree to something that contradicts your values or comfort, you're saying no to yourself. Saying no isn't just a word, it's a declaration of self-respect. It's a powerful way of showing the world, and yourself, that your boundaries matter, your feelings are valid, and your time is precious. But saying no can feel risky, especially when emotions are involved. What if they react poorly? What if they pull away? These fears are real, but they pale compared to the strength gained by standing firm in your truth. Let's examine this. Imagine a situation where your partner suggests something that makes you uncomfortable, perhaps moving faster than you'd prefer, or something conflicting with your values. The easy path might be to agree to avoid disruption. But deep down, you know that saying yes would feel like self-betrayal. This is where saying no becomes transformative. By calmly and confidently expressing your boundary, you're not just protecting yourself, you're setting a standard. You're communicating, this is who I am, and I value myself enough to remain true to that. Surprisingly, when delivered gracefully, a firm no often commands more respect than a hesitant yes ever could. Saying no isn't about being difficult or unkind, it's about clarity. It's knowing what you stand for and refusing compromise. This is where Stoicism becomes your ally. The Stoics teach that courage isn't absence of fear, but willingness to act according to principles despite it. When you decline, you're exercising that courage, choosing self-respect over fear of conflict or rejection. Let's address the underlying fear. What if my refusal drives them away? Here's the difficult truth. If someone can't handle your boundaries, they're not right for you. A relationship built on mutual respect and alignment won't collapse because you stood up for yourself. On the contrary, someone who truly values you will see your no as reflecting strength and self-assurance. Consider this example. Imagine being invited into a situation misaligned with your comfort or principles. Instead of nervously explaining or making excuses, respond with quiet confidence. That doesn't work for me. No anger, no drama. Just a clear, firm boundary. This simplicity is powerful, communicating that you know yourself and aren't afraid to honor your needs. Saying no extends beyond relationships. It touches every area of life. It's recognizing when something doesn't serve you and having the courage to walk away. Whether declining an invitation, distancing from a draining friendship, or refusing to settle professionally. Every refusal reclaims your energy and focus. But let's acknowledge reality. Saying no isn't always easy. It might feel uncomfortable, especially initially. You might worry about appearing rude or uncooperative. But consider, who matters more, those you're trying to please, or the version of yourself you're trying to honor? The answer is clear. Saying no is a radical act of self-love that becomes easier with practice. Here's a practical approach. The next time you feel pressured to agree out of guilt or fear, pause, breathe deeply, and ask, is this aligned with my values? Will this bring me closer to the life I want? If the answer is no, permit yourself to honor that. Remember, a refusal needn't be harsh or defensive. It can be kind, calm, and firm. This principle connects closely to Stoic psychology because it challenges power dynamics in relationships. By declining, you're subtly but powerfully asserting independence, signaling that your worth isn't tied to others' approval or acceptance. That's profoundly attractive. Remember, saying no isn't rejecting others, it's affirming yourself. It's creating space for what truly matters, for people and opportunities aligned with your values and elevating your journey. So the next time you face a choice, remember, your no is your power. Use it wisely and watch how it transforms not just your relationships, but your entire self-concept. 8. Carry yourself with pride. Imagine this. You enter a room and heads turn, not because of your attire or words, but because of how you carry yourself. Something about your energy, posture, the quiet confidence radiating from you commands attention. You're not loud or flashy, but unforgettable. What's your secret? You carry yourself with pride. Let's reflect. What does it mean to carry yourself with pride? It's not about arrogance or perfection. It's about self-respect. It's knowing who you are, embracing your flaws, and presenting yourself with authenticity and strength. When you carry yourself this way, people notice, and most importantly, they notice. Carrying yourself with pride begins with self-perception. Do you treat yourself kindly, or are you constantly critical? Do you honor your time, or let others waste it? How you regard yourself establishes how others treat you. If you constantly second-guess yourself, apologize excessively, or diminish your worth, you silently communicate, "I lack confidence in who I am." But when you hold your head high, take pride in your unique qualities, and move through life with self-assurance, you radiate entirely different energy. Here's a simple but transformative principle. How you present yourself reflects how much you value yourself. This isn't about expensive clothing or adopting a particular style. It's about intentionality. Are you wearing something that makes you feel strong and beautiful? Are you walking with shoulders back, standing tall, owning your space? These small shifts can change not only others' perceptions of you, but your self-perception. Envision this scenario. At a gathering, you notice two people. One hunches over, fidgeting with their phone, avoiding eye contact. The other is relaxed yet poised, smiling gently, fully present. Who seems more intriguing, more magnetic? The second person, naturally. And here's the secret. You can be that person, not by pretending, but by embracing and amplifying the confidence already within you. Stoicism offers another insight. The Stoics believed in focusing on what you can control and releasing what you cannot. You may not control every relationship outcome, but you can control how you present yourself and respond to your surroundings. Carrying yourself with pride means showing up as your best self, not for others, but because you deserve it. This principle extends to your actions. Consider how you speak, listen, and handle challenges. Are your words thoughtful and intentional, or are you constantly trying to please or impress? When listening, are you truly present or distracted? When facing difficulties, do you panic or remain composed? Your responses to life's moments reveal your inner confidence. Another truth: carrying yourself with pride isn't about perfection, it's about resilience. Everyone experiences awkward moments, bad days, and insecurities. What matters is management. Do you dwell on mistakes and let them define you, or learn, grow, and continue forward? When you demonstrate that you can navigate life's fluctuations gracefully, you become someone others admire. Consider this. How would your relationships change if you fully embraced your worth and carried yourself accordingly? What if instead of bending backward to impress others, you focused on authentic confidence? What if instead of seeking approval, you let your actions and energy speak? This mindset shift transforms not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. When you carry yourself with pride, you stop settling. You stop tolerating disrespect or half-hearted efforts. Instead, you attract people who recognize your worth because they see that you already value yourself. 9. Embrace change with grace. Let's discuss something simultaneously exhilarating and terrifying: change in relationships. Change is inevitable. Dynamics shift, emotions evolve, and circumstances challenge us unexpectedly. It's easy to view change as threatening, something to resist or fight. But what if you saw it as a gift? An opportunity to grow, adapt, and reveal inner strength you perhaps didn't recognize? When you resist change, you create tension, not just in relationships, but within yourself. You cling to what was from fear of what might come. But when you embrace change gracefully, you signal deep trust in life's natural rhythm. This isn't about passivity or indifference. It's about flowing with what you can't control and focusing energy on what you can. Imagine being in a relationship where things begin changing. Perhaps the initial connection feels different, or external circumstances complicate your bond. You might feel compelled to hold tighter, to demand explanations, to immediately fix things. But here's a Stoic truth. You cannot control another's emotions or actions, but you can control your response. Instead of panicking, step back and ask, what is this change teaching me? Perhaps it's urging patience, clearer communication, or reevaluation of whether the relationship aligns with your values. By shifting perspective, you transform change from enemy to teacher. This isn't just about reacting to external changes, it's recognizing and embracing internal ones. As you evolve, your needs, desires, and boundaries might shift. That's not just acceptable, it's beautiful. It indicates you're alive, learning, and becoming a fuller version of yourself. When you honor these internal changes, you show others you're unafraid to evolve, and that self-awareness is magnetic. But embracing change isn't always easy. It requires releasing the need for certainty, which can feel uncomfortable. You might wonder, what if I lose them? What if this change leads to the end? These concerns are valid but shouldn't restrain you. Remember, holding on to something that no longer serves you only blocks you from receiving what's truly meant for you. Sometimes letting go is the most courageous, loving act for yourself and others. Here's a powerful exercise for embracing change gracefully. When you feel resistance, pause and breathe. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of losing? Is this fear based in reality or self-created narrative? Then focus on what you can control: your thoughts, actions, energy. By grounding in the present moment, you release fear's grip and open to possibility. Stoic psychology offers another layer. Approach change with curiosity rather than dread. What new opportunities might this shift bring? What strengths might it reveal in you? By framing change as ally rather than opponent, this mindset shift alone can transform your experience. When you embrace change with grace, you become unshakable. You show the world, and yourself, that your value isn't tied to any single outcome or relationship, but to how you respond when circumstances shift. This quiet resilience is rare and deeply attractive. Consider this truth. The most meaningful relationships aren't those that remain static, but those that evolve while maintaining respect and care. By embracing change courageously, you create space for connections to transform naturally. Sometimes growing stronger, sometimes taking new forms, sometimes ending to make room for new beginnings. Remember, nothing truly valuable is lost through change. What matters most? Your inner strength, wisdom, and capacity for love remains intact regardless of external circumstances. When you trust this truth, you can face any transition with dignity and hope. 10. Practice calm detachment. In a world that celebrates intense emotions and dramatic displays of affection, calm detachment might seem counterintuitive. But this final principle might be the most powerful of all for commanding respect and embodying value. Calm detachment isn't about being cold or uncaring. It's about maintaining emotional equilibrium regardless of circumstances. It's the ability to care deeply without becoming consumed, to love fully without losing yourself, to remain centered even when everything around you feels chaotic. This principle draws directly from Stoicism's core teaching. distinguishing between what you can and cannot control. You cannot control others' feelings, decisions, or actions, but you can control your response. When you embrace this truth, you free yourself from emotional reactivity and find a place of quiet power. Consider how this manifests in relationships. When someone pulls away, most respond with anxiety, increasing efforts, or emotional outbursts. But what if instead, you responded with calm understanding? Not from indifference, but from a place of self-assurance? This response communicates volumes. I value this connection, but my worth isn't dependent on your validation. Calm detachment creates space for others to miss you, to reflect on their behavior, to recognize your value. It's not manipulation, it's alignment with your own sovereignty. When you aren't desperately seeking validation or approval, you become magnetically attractive simply by being complete within yourself. This principle particularly shines during challenging moments. When facing conflict, disappointment, or uncertainty, your ability to remain composed speaks to inner strength. Instead of reacting from emotion, you respond from wisdom. Instead of demanding reassurance, you offer understanding. This balanced approach doesn't just preserve your dignity, it earns others' respect. The beauty of calm detachment is its sustainability. While emotional highs and lows drain your energy, equanimity preserves it. You become a steady presence, someone others can count on, someone whose value doesn't fluctuate with circumstances. To practice this principle, start with self-awareness. When emotions arise, observe them without immediate reaction. Ask yourself, is this response serving me? Is it aligned with my dignity? Create space between stimulus and response. This is where your power lies. Remember, calm detachment isn't about suppressing emotions but managing them wisely. It's understanding that while feelings are valid, they needn't dictate your actions. This emotional intelligence doesn't just benefit your relationships, it transforms your relationship with yourself. When you master this principle, something remarkable happens. You become unshakable. The opinions, actions, and choices of others may influence your emotions, but they no longer define your worth or peace. You stand firm in who you are, calm, composed, and quietly confident. Conclusion: the transformation begins with you. We've explored 10 powerful principles for embodying value and commanding respect, each rooted in timeless Stoic wisdom. But here's the most important truth. These aren't just techniques for changing how others see you, they're pathways to transforming how you see yourself. The journey begins with you. When you stop pursuing and start attracting, when you know your worth like a rare gem, when you watch actions rather than words, you're not just changing relationship dynamics, you're reclaiming your power. When you master nonverbal communication, set boundaries without words, and embrace change with grace, you're not performing for others, you're honoring yourself. When you harness the power of saying no, carry yourself with pride, embrace silence, and practice calm detachment, you're creating an unshakable foundation of self-respect that naturally commands the respect of others. These principles aren't about manipulation or games. They're about authenticity and alignment. They're about becoming so centered in your worth that seeking validation becomes unnecessary. They're about creating relationships based on mutual respect rather than mutual need. As you integrate these teachings into your life, be patient with yourself. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It unfolds gradually as you practice, reflect, and grow. Some days will be easier than others, and that's perfectly normal. Remember, embodying value isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Each time you honor your worth, set a boundary, or respond with quiet confidence, you strengthen your connection with yourself. And that connection is the foundation for every meaningful relationship you'll ever create. So I ask you, are you ready to transform not just how others see you, but how you see yourself? Are you prepared to stop chasing validation and start embodying value? The journey may not always be easy, but I promise you this, it will be worth it. Because when you truly value yourself, the world has no choice but to follow suit.